Okay, guys. We are going to figure this out. He's not getting it for some... I think he said he's getting bad Wi-Fi. Lynn said I look fabulous. I appreciate that. Oh, dang. Why is it not working? God. Don't know what's happening, y'all. But thank you for waiting. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. Oh, let me see if I can go this way now. ATIBA. Pin go live. Finally got it. Thank you.
Finally.
Yes, exactly. Nothing like a grand entrance, right?
This is tragic.
How are you, ATIBA?
I'm awesome. How are you?
Good. So you're here in California, right?
Yes.
Great. Welcome. How you feeling?
I feel great. How's
Good.
everything in New York? I had to get out of New York for a few weeks.
Yeah.
It was too much. It was way too much. And my
Yeah.
birthday is tomorrow. So I
Oh,
came
amazing.
out.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
What are you doing?
Dinner and a barbecue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Are you staying in Malibu?
No, I'm staying downtown, and I'm staying in
You just froze a
I
little
just
bit,
came
but
out here for lunch.
okay. So I do a show every night called Legendary Talks, and basically we celebrate these people of culture. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I thought you'd be a great person to have on based off of your lengthy career and your experiences, your cultural experiences. So, I hope you're ready.
I'm super ready.
Good. Okay. First, where were you born?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York,
Yeah.
Brownsville, and Flatbush. And
Yeah.
Flatbush is where I kind of like got my style from.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was like
Um,
if you weren't fashionable in Flatbush, you weren't popular. So
and what were some of the Brooklyn influences you think, fashion
uh,
wise?
fashion wise, the lowlifes, these dudes that only wore polo
Yep.
from head to toe. So I was influenced by the lowlifes and everybody who wore like Guess and Jabot and Doc Martens and stuff like that. So it was like an evolution. It evolved over years, but it started with the low lives, and I started wearing a lot of polo. Me and my cousins, that's what we wore was polo.
Um, when you were like very little, kind of like 8, 9, 10 years old, what was the first song that really resonated with you?
At 8, 9 years old,
Yeah.
uh,
Under a teenager, under 12.
had to be a Michael Jackson song, probably,
Um,
or the Jackson 5. I'm a '70s kid, so you
and
know,
what music video kind of influenced you, I guess, during that time, style-wise?
Michael Jackson, "Beat It,"
Yeah.
the red leather jacket with the zippers,
And
that right
then
there.
what about is there any movie, any of those 80s fashion movies that kind of like may have helped define your taste and style?
Uh, in the '80s.
or 70, whatever, 70s, 80s, whatever.
School Days is always a big influence. I always love the movie School Days.
Yep, that's a great one.
Visually, I thought that was always a dope movie. And Crush Groove,
Yep, oh, that's a great one.
that was a big inspiration too, the fashion with that. Sheila E. And it's funny because when I first met Sheila E., she knew who I was, and that kind of shocked me. So that was like a big, big influence. But yeah, Crush Groove was a big influence.
And then what do you think, kind of, again, before you were a teenager, what was the first big fashion moment where you were like, oh my gosh, like this is a real thing, and it kind of really connected, like it really clicked with you?
Honestly,
could be Michael Jackson, could be anything. Yeah.
Honestly, it was Salt and Pepper.
Mm.
It was Salt and Pepper. Like videos like Everybody Get Up and Shake Your Thing. Like to me, that was like fashion forward. And I always loved Salt and Pepper. I was obsessed with them. So when I actually got to work with them, that was like crazy. Like I couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? And I had 1,000 questions for them, especially Salt, because I had one-on-one with her. I had to dress her one day, and I just asked her 1,000 questions.
Well, she's also the spicy one in the group. She's the spicy one in the group.
I think she was like the brains of the group, honestly. And I always loved her, and I had 1,000 questions. But a lot of those fashion ideas came from them as well. Not just their stylists. But Salt and Pepper, definitely. I always thought they were dope. They were always on trend for me. Whether it was
I agree, they're great. And they were,
they were just trendsetters.
I think Salt and Pepper was actually ahead. Really, realistically, they were ahead.
They were definitely, and it's crazy because I always work with people who were like ahead of their time. Like Kelis, she was like decades ahead of everybody else. And even back then, I was like, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And she was like, this is what I want to do. Like the gold teeth, when she was doing that, for the Bossy video, she had to have those fronts. You remember that video? We did the video in LA. And I was like, those fronts look so ugly. And she was like, this is what I'm going to wear. And look, 10 years later, everybody's doing it. She was always ahead of her time. Always. Yeah. Always. From the first day I met her.
But I think Salt and Pepper too, now that you're saying it, they've always been ahead, because remember when they came out with like What a Man and stuff, they then got real kind of glamorous and skinny, which at the time was still ahead of its time, so
exactly.
Salt and Pepper is, has been, their whole career have been ahead of their time.
Definitely.
And I think a lot of people were really influenced by them in that, 80s thing they were doing too, pushing all.
Derek Kahn was the brains behind all of that, a lot of that stuff, honestly. He styled them, he was the first to put them in Chanel.
Amazing.
The legendary Derek Kahn, you got to give him his props. So it was people like that inspired me,
And so, I think that this thing, we talk about kind of the 90s a lot, and I think the New York City scene in the 90s is so important to culture and the world. Realistically, what was going on in New York in the mid and late 90s is like such a culturally and stylistic important thing, and you and I both being a part of it. Describe New York City. First of all, what's the first club you went to where you were kind of blown away in New York?
The Tunnel.
Amazing.
The Tunnel.
Yep. I had Jessica Roosevelt on here, and she was blowing my mind with her stories. So describe New York, not necessarily fashion-wise, but just describe New York in the late 90s, party-wise and culture-wise.
First of all, everything was like a vibe. It was a vibe because you could kind of look at somebody and tell like where they came from. You can look at somebody and tell if they came from Queens or the Bronx or Brooklyn, because everything was like a vibe. Or even like Harlem dudes, because Harlem dudes were like super flashy with the Dapper Dan and all the knockoff stuff. And the Brooklyn dudes wore a lot of polo. And the Queens dude, they wore just anything. To be honest with you, they were stick-up kids. But it was like everything was a vibe, so you could kind of tell, and all those things merged together. And then when you brought like hip hop into it, that just quadrupled it. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody from hip hop stepped into a building, that would change the whole vibe. And back then, when a lot of artists came to clubs, they didn't have security. You know what I'm saying? So they would be like right there with everybody else. So it was like a one-on-one thing, not like it is today, with like a bunch of security and the VIP. It wasn't like that back then. Like they would be on the dance floor right with you. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So it was just different back then. It was better, honestly, to be honest.
Well, I think the late 90s, you think about it, and, I was working at a lot of the clubs, and it was like when, Diddy was becoming a superstar, and Little Kim and these people were becoming, mega stars, like superstars. And it was kind of the birth of hip hop becoming mega, so.
Sorry about
Are we in
that.
New York? Are you in New York? I'm
This
just kidding.
is Malibu. I don't know what happened.
But it was kind of the birth of all that becoming like, I guess, mainstream and these superstars. But as a result, New York City was so special during that time and so unique and so new. It was very new, kind of the vibe of it all, and the different cultures coming together and things. And all those clubs to me were so amazing and so special. Like you could literally see Biggie there, Biggie in the club, and things like that. Those were very special times, I think.
Definitely, but you know what? When you say all that and you describe that, the first thing I think of is Lotus, because everybody came to Lotus, and it was a different vibe, and that was the first time that no, as a matter of fact, the first time I heard somebody playing drums along to music was at CBGB's. That was the first time I heard it, but then again was at Lotus, but he was 10 times better than the dude at CBGB's. Playing the bongos and everything like. That was different for me. So that kind of like stepped it up, because it wasn't just you sitting in the club. It was actually a performance. It was a vibe. It was a swag. So, and Lotus was like the club to be in. And I think that's when I first met you. Was at Lotus, right? We first met at Lotus?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Lotus to me was kind of like the next phase. It was like kind of like the late 90s is one thing, and then Lotus kind of early 2000s. That was kind of like, again, like Jay-Z, Puffy, and Pharrell had become these huge stars. They were coming every week, but it was also, it was kind of like black, white, gay, straight. Yeah. It was like I call it the Studio 54 of hip hop. I call it the Studio 54 of hip hop. So
that's exactly what it was.
Listen, it was the place to be. If you were there, you were there. If you weren't, you weren't. And I look back at it fondly, but everyone always asked me too, and I said it was 7 years, and everyone was so sad when it ended. I said I was ready. When it ended, I was like, keep it moving. Like I was not sad.
Exactly. It was the end of an era, but it was fun.
Yeah.
The entire time.
Great era, but eras have to end.
It lasted for a long time.
Yeah, it was 7 years. So what drew you to fashion, do you think, exactly? Like, why were you so drawn to style and fashion?
It just like, honestly, it just came to me kind of like effortlessly, you know what I'm saying? Like, all my friends went into fashion, in school, like if you weren't fashionable, you kind of like didn't exist, you know what I'm saying? I went to George Westinghouse Technical School, downtown Brooklyn. It was a trade school, and I took up electrical installation. I was never going to be an electrician, but still, all my uncles went there, so my mom kind of like made me go there because it was a trade school. But everybody that went to that school that was fashionable kind of like stayed in a clique. So it was like if you dressed fly, you were popular, And then after that, Brooklyn was a big influence on me, because the style in Brooklyn was like different, because I had a lot of West Indians in Brooklyn. I was like the only American. All my friends were West Indian, so that was a whole nother thing, because they had a certain way of dressing, even like the way they rolled up their cuffs, their sleeves, all those small things. So, and I was always into hip hop, so that was a big influence too, like videos. I was a big video head. I watched Video Music Box growing up, so that influenced me. Rappers like Dana Dane, Slick Rick, Kid and Play, Salt and Pepper. So that was like my first big introduction into fashion. And I always, like to dress nice, so it kind of like just came naturally. And then I had friends that were stylists, like Eric Archibald, Roger McKenzie, he was like the fashion editor at the Source at the time, and Eric was working at Carl Kanai back then. So it was like all my friends at a young age, I couldn't believe that they had these big jobs, they had their own apartments. So it was like, that was big back then, be 19, 20 and have friends that have their own apartment and they have these big positions, and they're black, and they're gay. So it was like, it was odd for me, but it showed me that, anything was possible. And then I interned for June. We worked for the Mod Squad, and that was just the beginning of everything. Working for June kind of like changed everything for me, because with June, I met everybody as an intern. I remember I used to have to walk her dog for like the first 6 months. I didn't get paid. All she did was she paid my cell bill and she paid for my haircuts, and that was it. And I used to walk her dog every day, and
that works.
Pick up bags, everything. Yeah, and from that, the first job she gave me was with Missy Elliot. I went on tour with Missy
Which one?
Missy Elliott. It was the Lilith Fair tour.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was with like all the like heavy hitters, and it was my first time ever going on the road, and I had to dress her, the dancers, and this is back with like Nicole Ray. I had to dress Nicole Ray. I had to dress Little Mo. Gina Thompson was background, so it was like everybody. Like she had
What
the
year?
whole
What year was
squad.
that?
This was like, don't
So
get me
like
to lying. I think it was like
2000?
2000. Yeah,
Yeah.
when so hold up. It was Nicole Ray. Who else? What's her name?
Early 2000s. Early 2000, like
Yes.
2002.
Like
Yeah.
Gina Thompson was singing background, Cheryl Pepsi Riley, Little Mo. It
Yep.
was, and I had to dress everybody, yo. Everybody. Just little old me. The dancers. It was
But, you know,
it was a nightmare.
ATIBA, what we know, we come from the old school, quote unquote. You have to work. You have to work. There's no other way
Oh
around
my
it.
God.
You know,
No.
I think, you know, maybe the 21-year-old now doesn't have to work, but we had to work, and I was proud of it. I was happy with it. I worked hard. I worked very hard.
You
You
had
mean?
to. You
Yeah, you had to
to.
work, and that was a good thing. You
This
mean
is
work? I
before
love
social
working.
media. This is before social media. You had to
Thank
work.
goodness.
Yeah.
Claudine is saying that was the year 2000 because I think she
It
worked.
was
She worked with
2000.
Missy.
Yes,
Yep.
it was 2000.
So okay, that was your first. So basically, June kind of
Yes.
was your. Because I was gonna say, did you look up to anyone at the time, or who mentored you? But it was kind of like June took you under her wing, or
Yes, definitely took me under her wing, and like the first big video, the first video I ever did with June was Foxy Brown Get You Home, and she let me dress Blackstreet, and her and Eric dressed Foxy Brown, and she wore like nothing but Tom Ford and Dolce & Gabbana, and of course Hype produced it. We shot in like Central Park. It was an amazing experience, you know what I'm saying? Like for me to dress Blackstreet, and I put them in all this like Emporio Armani Exchange, and you know, it was like the first time I ever like worked on set. But no, that's a lie. The first time I ever worked on set was when I brought Nas and Puff Their Clothes for Hate Me Now, the video. Hate Me Now. That was the first.
legendary one.
Yes. All I did was just bring their stuff. That was it.
Yeah, but you were on set, on a legendary
Yes.
set. You mean
On
they
a
filmed it
legend-
at a club? Wait, they filmed that in a club that I used to work at.
We were
They
there
filmed
to the
that
wee hours.
Yeah. Okay, so June kind of took you under her wing and kind of maybe showed you the ropes, let's say, kind of, so to
Definitely.
speak.
Definitely.
So what was your first styling job kind of on your own? Your first?
Honestly, on my own, by myself, it was either Faith or Kelis. You know what? It was Kelis. It was Kelis. Yeah, by myself. It was Kelis.
We're gonna get into Kelis. We're gonna get into Kelis later. So I want to ask you a couple questions about, you know, you said kind of like being a black, you know, these things. Did you find it challenging? Because I had Ty on here, and Ty was saying in the beginning no one would lend him clothes for Destiny's Child at all. It was very challenging, and June was one of the people that kind of helped him navigate it. Did you find it challenging kind of when you were on your own? What were the challenges you found basically as a young black stylist in New York City in the 2000s?
Well, honestly, there weren't that many challenges for me to get in showrooms, honestly, because either people know me from June. That's how I made most of my connections through June. People know me from working with her over the years. And then after that, I kind of went from June to working with Eric.
Yeah.
And then from Eric, I kind of went on my own, and then I started working with Faith and people like Kelis. And then after that, after Kelis was Puff. So I never had a problem getting in anywhere because of Puff. You know, I got it everywhere. So that was something I was blessed enough to not ever have a problem, because I always work with people of certain status. I got lucky. You know what I'm saying? Like I got real lucky, because early on working with June is how I met Puff. And he used to always ask me like, yo, where'd you get that from? Where you get that jacket from? So that's kind of like how it started, but I was scared of him. So I would always find a way to not work with him until he was managing Kelis, and I was working with her. So he kind of like had me cornered, and he was like, I'm going to Barcelona to do the VMAs, like, you need to fuck with me. And I was like, okay. So, and then that was that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what are you gonna say, no?
No, exactly.
So what are some of your, you know, you just rattled off like, you know, those people you work with, but what are some of your most memorable jobs that stick out to you? You know, you said the Foxy Brown videos. You know, what are some kind of like legendary projects you have been involved in?
Well, that was one, like just watching like the evolution of Foxy and just watching how everybody just started and grew right
Yep.
before my very eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like even with Puff, you know, just like it was really the runway shows that really impacted me more than anything. Working with Puff on the Sean John runway shows.
Those were amazing. I say, listen, those shows were some of the best shows of the past 2 decades. Seriously, you mean?
Yeah,
Those
like,
shows were so like we're saying about everyone being ahead of their time. Those shows were ahead of their time. And those shows were amazing. Listen, I said during Fashion Week, those Fashion Weeks, I said I only go to 2 shows: Jeremy Scott and Sean John. I don't care about nothing else. I mean, they were amazing. Those shows.
I mean, from the casting to the styling, like everything was crazy.
Yeah, no, they were amazing. Those shows. They were extremely ahead of their time, I think.
Yeah, those are probably.
Well, I say Puffy in general. Puffy gets a lot of credit for being a great businessman, a great producer. He doesn't get the credit for being the visionary that he is. I don't think people, for some reason, people sleep on that part of his personality. He's a complete visionary, I think. You mean?
Definitely. So
but people don't think that about him for some reason. I don't know why.
Exactly, but those are the most monumental moments for me. Were like with Puff, you know, Puff, Prince, but like the biggest one for me, honestly, was I think with Mary. You know, like the Love and Life album. Like that was probably like my most proudest moment. You know what I'm saying? Because at the time it was like 2 stylists on set. It was like her original stylist, and then because Puff was producing the album, he kind of like forced her to work with me. You know, she was like hesitant about it. So, you know, 2 stylists on set, that's not a good vibe. You know what I'm saying? Working with one artist. So it was weird. I'm sure it was the first for both of us, you know? So for me to work with her, and then it was kind of like who was going to get the cover. And then for me to get the cover, that was like a big deal for me, you know? And then I worked with her after that. So that was like a big moment for me. So the most memorable moments I think would be the the Mary cover for Love and Life, and then working with Mary and Foxy for the BET Awards, styling them both at the same time. That was like a big moment for me too, you know.
I'm sure hectic too, right?
That was crazy hectic. I put them both in white.
And hot.
It was nuts. Very hot. In LA?
BET Awards are always hot, right?
Always. Oh my God. It was nuts.
So, Tiba, we've been friends for a very long time, probably almost over 20 years we've been friends.
Yeah, I was about to say 2 decades.
And, you know, we have a lot of things in common. We have one thing majorly in common, which is Kelis, like we talked about. And, you know, I think you said we met at Lotus, but I think we probably met through Kelis, right?
It was either at her house or it was at Lotus. I think it was at Lotus first.
We've traveled the world together with her. Yes. We've had some amazing experiences and some crazy experiences.
Puerto Rico is one of my favorites.
Yes. And Barbados as well.
Yes.
Wait, so how would you describe Kelis? You were getting into it earlier, saying ahead of her time. What do you think style-wise Kelis's impact has been on culture?
I mean, she was just always, like I always said, ahead of her time, 10 steps ahead. She just had this whole like Harlem swag. If everybody was going left, she was going right. And if everybody was going right, she was going left. You know what I'm saying? And she just, whether it was cutting her hair, dyeing her hair, you know, go fronts, jeans and dresses, like tattoos, you know, she was doing the body tats before any other female rapper. Like she was doing a lot of things before a lot of females, not just rappers or singers. Yeah. She was just always ahead of her time. You know what I'm saying? And as a Leo, from one Leo to another, she was a visionary. You know what I'm saying? And she was so strong-willed. You couldn't tell her anything. And that's something... Still can't. But that rubbed off on me, honestly. She definitely rubbed off on anybody that she was around. Like, she was just one of the ballsiest chicks I was ever around. And if she fuck with you, she fuck with you. And if she didn't, she didn't. And there's no in between, and there was no mystery. You know what I'm saying? Like, phony is the last thing that girl is.
So it's so funny when she says, She goes, can I be honest with you? I get scared. Because she's so honest with it is.
Yeah.
When she declares she's about to be honest, I'm like,
You know,
oh,
it's about to be bad. It's about to be bad.
So funny. I mean, and so let me ask you this too. And this is, I had her on here and we had, a similar conversation, her and I. Do you think it's, and this is just your opinion, and everyone has a different opinion about it. Do you think it's better to be first or to be like best at something?
Oh, best, definitely, because
okay, yeah.
I believe in taking from everyone and making it my own. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like that's what art is about. Like you interpret it your own way. So I can see something and I can see something different. I'm gonna add to that. So being first is nothing. If anything, you're just setting the bar and everybody's gonna try and top that bar. So being the best is definitely better than being first. Yeah.
And then, so after Kelis, you worked with Puff, and I just remember you and Puff being together always for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, I think Puff has great style. I think he, like I said, such a visionary. He's also been ahead of his time in a lot of ways, and I don't think people don't perceive him that way for some reason because he's so, popular and good at business and all these different things. But how would you describe Puff in general,
I mean, he's a connoisseur. He's a leader. Like he definitely leads. He's the first person I saw who never took no for an answer, and that was like odd for me because no matter what he wanted, if he thought about it, he can make it happen. And there were times when I was like, people told me like no, and I went back to him and I said no. They said it's not possible, and he would say put me on the phone with them, and then it would become possible. So I knew for a fact that there was nothing that he could not make happen. If he believed it, he could achieve it. And I saw it time and time, even from the Ciroc meetings. Like, I was in the meetings when they were talking about making Ciroc and, using potato instead of this and that. And I was just sitting there like, because I was like the conduit to like everything that he was doing. And just to sit there and watch him create Ciroc was like, amazing. Even when he was interviewing Dia Sims, like I was there for the birth of a lot of people that are like moguls right now.
So inspiring, really, if you think about it. What an inspiration he is. Has been his whole life, since we've known him, his whole career.
Definitely. He's a legend, at the time, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I knew I was working with a legend, you know what I'm saying? But to be in it is different, you know what I'm saying? And I work with so many legends, you know what I'm saying? Like from Puff to Mary to CeeLo to Kelis, Nas, Prince, you know what I'm saying? Like Missy, so many legends. So it's like, in the moment when you're there, it's different. It's just work, you don't even, it doesn't sink in until later. Cause like, honestly, at the time it didn't sink in. I was just trying to make it through the day because there was so much pressure because they were such big stars. It was like, if this fucks up, it's because of me. You know what I'm saying? Like even on R. Kelly sets, when we used to do like Half on a Baby with June and Hype, it was like a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure because, they were huge stars.
Yep. Well, I think too, I've been in many situations too where I'm in it and you don't realize because you're in it and doing it, you're kind of so focused. And then I did a photo thing recently and I was looking, I'm like, dang, when you look at like these situations that you've been involved in because you're in it and you're working, you don't realize how legendary the situation is and the people and things. And I think that's just normal and that just means that you are a hard worker and you're focused. I think it would be kind of weird for maybe like me or you to be like in the moment, wow, this is such a legendary, because you're in it, you know what I mean? It's like, it's really challenging to take yourself out of it for a second, I agree with that 100%. So
exactly.
And then I know that you became really good friends with Faith and you developed some really close friendships with people over the years from working with them, correct?
Definitely. Faith is still one of my closest friends. As a matter of fact, tomorrow's my birthday. So I'm having a lunch and a dinner. So we're going to do lunch at the Waldorf.
Amazing.
We're going to do dinner at Perch. So, I just came out here. I had to get away. New York, there's a lot going on. I needed to get away.
Change of energy is always good. Changing, energy.
Definitely.
Okay, so I want to talk kind of about, what's going on in the world the last couple of years. So, what do you think of obviously what's happened to Dapper Dan the last like 2, 3 years, 4 years?
Well, it's amazing what happened with Dap. The way he finally
Yeah.
got his props. You know, he
Yep.
finally, you know, is good to get your roses, you know, before you're in the grave. So that was amazing. And just to watch Dap like come back like that, like
Yep, I know.
it was the most inspiring thing. And when he first had the billboard up in Harlem, when he was coming back, like that was like a moment. You know, living in Harlem, that was like big for me. That was
No, it's
amazing.
amazing. It's like, I feel like all of us, like our generation, it makes us feel warm. You know, it's just to see him like,
Definitely.
first of all, he's an amazing human being. He's so kind. He's so generous with his knowledge. He's so knowledgeable. He's so generous with his knowledge. But to see him win and be so humble about it, he's so humble about how successful he is. And just all of it is just a warm vibe to me. I think all of us, though, our generation, it makes us feel so good to see him win, you know?
Definitely. Timing is everything. Timing is everything.
You're right.
Sometimes it's greater later, you know?
You're right.
And I'm sure
You're
he
right.
appreciates it more. His kids, you know, I heard his son is working with him. So it's like,
Totally. Yep.
it's amazing, you know? Timing is everything. That's a fact.
And then what do you think of all the fashion councils that are popping up the last couple of years and all the, you know, prior to the last couple of months, the last couple of years, all these fashion councils and now the focus on diversity, you know, what is your kind of focus and what are your thoughts on all that?
I think it's amazing. I think it's better late than never. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need more fashion councils. We need more color. We need more culture. We need more cultural appropriation. You know, like a lot of things are done that are just not appropriate, and some people just don't know. You know, so you need someone of color to kind of gauge the situation for you and let you know, because people know what they know, and some people just, you know, ignorance is bliss. You know, some people just don't know when they're offending other people.
That's a good way of looking at it.
And it's because they don't have anybody of color, you know, on the team. And I feel like in 2020, there should be nowhere where there isn't color of some sort. You know, whether it's Indian, Asian, Spanish, you know what I'm saying? Like any team that's all white, just in 2020, just isn't all right. You know what I'm saying? Because there's color everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
And yeah, I mean that was the problems. They were having these, you know, design teams and there would be no brown person in sight. You know, like what the heck, you know, doing these kind of like, you know, I don't know, sportswear type lines and no brown people. It was so, you know.
No, nowhere in sight. That doesn't make any sense.
Like they've always been doing, copying 125th.
Copying the culture, exactly.
They're going to 125th and then designing their collection with no brown people involved. You mean?
Raping the culture, basically.
You know?
Raping the culture, being disrespectful.
Okay, so who are, like, let's say your top 3 favorite designers right now, like new designers, Kirby or, you know, people like that. Who do you love right now?
You know what? I do like new designers. You know, one of my favorites right now, I love Cartonieto. I don't know if you know Cartonieto. He's like a new designer. He's dope. Like his accessories are dope. I think he's like, I like people who have like vision, and I think everything he makes, I'm like, yo, this dude is dope. I think what Ducky Confetti does is dope. I love Ducky Confetti.
Me too.
Like some of his stuff, I'm like, yo, I need that, you know. But his stuff sells out so quick. I'm so proud of Ducky, you know.
Yeah, me too.
Because I'm like really like on my black own right now. You know what I'm saying? So people like Cartonieto, Ducky Confetti, you know, Pierre Moss. You know, like I love designers like that. You know, like I love visionaries. You know, I like people. There's another designer. Oh my God, what is his name? Jesus, he's a photographer too. Oh man, I'm drawing a blank right now, but he's dope too. What is his name? Oh man, he's a photographer. Like he's super dope. There's so many amazing young black designers out there.
I agree. There's a lot have emerged the last couple of years that have really been doing an amazing job, and I'm very happy about that, obviously. So
definitely.
Well, like, you know, because like, you know, Shane from Hood by Air, Telfar, and all them, those are all little kids that used to come to my party, and now they're all kind of these big designers. It's so funny. Like even Kirby. You know, Kirby's been coming. You know, like so these have all become these really big designers. It makes me happy that these. You know, to be honest, I've said this about myself for years. I can spot talent and a star a mile away. All those people stuck out of my head the minute I met them as like something special, and they all have become these really big stars of fashion. So it's really
Definitely.
amazing.
And I still love designers like Public School, you know, like
Yeah,
Jolly Child, Max,
yeah.
you know, so I still love them, like, because I also love simplicity, you know what I'm saying? But I also still love Helmut Lang, John Bartlett.
So
Um,
let me ask you this: if you have to pick three designers, you know, of the history of design, like fashion, like who are your top three designers ever?
oh my God, that's hard. But
I know.
one would definitely be Tom Ford.
Good.
Always loved Tom Ford. The architect, and because I worked with him with Prince, Jean-Paul Gaultier, just because he's
Love him.
Jean-Paul Gaultier.
One of my favorites
So,
too.
and my third would probably be, oh man, oh, that's tough because I love like streetwear too. Like I love John Bartlett, you know,
Yep.
like, oh, that's tough. I don't know. That's a tough one. The third one,
That's
I
all
don't
right.
know.
You can do a comeback to the third one.
We're gonna have to come
Um,
back to the third one because I know it's somebody that I'm forgetting that I absolutely love. But
so if you had to pick three fashion moments, like you know, Little Kim with her boob out or whatever, like what are like the three biggest fashion moments for you over the past 3 decades? Could be Michael Jackson beat it. Could be something you worked on. Could be anything.
oh my God, a fashion moment.
Like the biggest three for you.
Rihanna at the Met Gala with that.
Yellow.
Yes, I
Good
thought
one.
that was epic.
Good one.
Honestly, I love what another Met Gala moment with Zayn with the
Oh
whole
yeah.
metal arm thing. I thought that was
Yep.
dope.
Yep.
Um, and what's another one that I can think of? Probably Zendaya, the whole Joan of Arc moment. I thought
Yep.
that was fire. I thought that was
That was
dope.
amazing.
I love what Law does with her. Like they're
Yeah, me
they're
too.
they're a perfect team. They're like a great
His birthday
match.
was like 2 days ago, I think.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. So isn't it really interesting to see? Because, you know, like you and Eric, June, obviously, then you, then Eric, and all these people have paved the way, I think, for them, you know? So it's really interesting that, like, you know, I mean, again, I know them all since, I know Law for a really long time.
Hmm.
Colin, who does Cardi B, I know them all from my parties. And I'm so proud of them now because they're all killing it and they're doing so amazing. So, you
Definitely.
know, isn't it really wonderful to see these kind of like, you know, they're all, you know, they're kind of younger and kind of killing the game and really influencing stuff. Isn't it amazing?
It's so dope to
Yeah.
watch the growth. You know, like
Yep.
it's all about passing the baton on to the next one. You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna pass the baton on to somebody else. It's
Yep.
awesome because you know I remember when I first met Law and he was doing her. You know, and to see where he's come from to then to now is amazing. And the same with her and that loyalty in their relationship.
Yep. Oh, I think it froze. Sidebar, I see Eric Archibald on here. What's up, Eric? Tiva just froze. Eric, how are you? We have to have you on here one night, Eric. I'm sure you have some good stories. The Tiva's getting funky Wi-Fi. Maybe I will hang up and do it again. Oh, he hung up. You know he's a hot mess, Atiba. Let me ask him again. Sorry, guys. Thank you for your patience. I gotta ask him again. Where's he at? So it's going live with Fifi. I'm trying to go live with Fifi, boo boo. Hold on. Thanks for waiting, guys. Appreciate it. Trying to get him back. Who's having trouble? I don't know if he's not getting Wi-Fi or what his deal is. Eric, you got to come on here. Yeah, you should come on here. Let me try this one more time. It's not working, guys. Maybe he's not getting Wi-Fi because I don't see him. Let me call him again. You know, ATIBA, got to be dramatic, you know. Let's hear what he has to say.
Your call has been
Yeah,
forwarded.
I don't think he's getting Wi-Fi anymore. His phone's going to voicemail. Anybody have any questions before we go? We're going to wrap it up. Eric, I'd love to have you on. What's up, Kiki? Thank you, Claudine and Rock the Bells, for my amazing Roxanne shirt. Anybody else have any questions or want to shout out anything? Yeah, dramatic, exactly. Dramatic ATIBA. That was great, though. ATIBA and I have lots of history. It was great to chat with him. Claudine said his phone didn't die. How does she know? Let me call him again. Yeah, it's not working. All right, so thank you guys. Have a great night. We have MJ Rodriguez on tomorrow from Pose. Very excited. On Friday, we have Andre Simone, who was in Prince's original band, and he's this amazing producer. I'm very excited to talk to both of them this week. Hopefully you guys will join. It's been a fun night. Thank you, and see you soon, guys. Legendary Talks. Bye, guys. Thank you.